All right, let's get rolling here. All right, my name's Hunter. I am the ambassador lead here at onX Offroad. I get to work with our ambassadors and some of our fun marketing initiatives. I also get to help lead the master classes. My background is in the full size 4x4 rigs. I currently have a 5th gen Power Wagon. Before that, and I had a whole long list of Toyotas. So the full size off-road rigs are my main interest.
Hey everyone, I'm Jake. I am also on the onX Offroad community team. I have a lifelong participation in all things motors, but primarily motocross. So I'll have a good perspective from the two-wheel side of things if there's any two-wheel people in the audience, and also a good snowmobile perspective. So hopefully I can answer some questions there. But yeah, happy to have you all on board. And we look forward to doing these. So happy you all joined in tonight.
All right, so quick overview of what we're covering this evening. We are going to be kicking off in WebMap. That is the desktop version of onX Offroad. We encourage you to follow along, have it up. So we'll spend some time there, and we're going to jump over to the mobile app. And then from there, we have a giveaway. And we'll get into details of that closer to the end of the session. And then we'll probably leave the last 15-20 minutes for Q&A. And for those that just jumped in, this is recorded. This will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So anything you want to be able to run back or we cover too quickly, because we are going to throw a good amount of information at you, that will all be on our YouTube channel. And from there, we'll kick it over to you, Jake.
Cool. Thanks, Hunter. Okay, so when I'm pulling up the web map, give me a sec here. And then when we say web map, it just means like the desktop version that Hunter just mentioned. And again, like this is super fast. Like we're gonna try to there's a lot of stuff to cover here. So if you feel like we're going too fast, as Hunter mentioned, this will be on YouTube. So don't worry, you can go back and rewatch it. But we would encourage you, if you do have a laptop or you're in front of a computer right now, like I would definitely recommend pulling up the web version and then following along, because there's a lot to cover. So and I'm going to be covering this from the perspective of like you just opened this for the first time. So if there's some more advanced users tuning in right now, just bear with me for a moment, and then we'll get to some more advanced stuff later on. But we will kick it off. Okay. So Hunter, how's that screen look?
Looking good.
Okay, cool. So depending on where you're at in the country, of course, for the most part, it's going to pull you up in this view. You're going to be shown satellite stuff like this. And before we even really zoom in and start making stuff happen with the app, I just kind of want to go over some other things that are noteworthy, and then, on the settings level, to make sure you guys are all tuned in that sense. So right out of the gate, if you go down to your left-hand corner, you're going to see my account and my settings. You can pull this up, go to your settings from here. This is where, depending on your preference, you can change your units, imperial metric. You can change your GPS coordinates here as well. Custom waypoints names, share crosshair is a good one. And this kind of thing is where you would do this here. And also this is where you would find your legend. As you'll see here in a moment, like this app is all interactive, so you don't necessarily need the legend, but if you're someone who likes to have something to refer to like this is where you would find it. So it is there. Not a lot of people know how to find this, but this is where this thing is at. So this bottom left-hand corner, legend, boom, pulls up all the things. And it also does a good, it shows you how we break down what we consider single track, our 50-inch trails, high clearance, different land areas. And then you can get to a point where you don't even have to click on the colors in the app. You just know what they are because you've looked at it so many times. Same thing here with all this rec sites. Over here, you go to snow, dive in here, same deal here. Groomed trails, ungroomed, all that good stuff is in there. And for the purpose of this demo, we are going to be in dirt mode. There is a snow mode here. We do have snow mode available right now, but for the purpose of this, we're going to be in dirt mode. This is where you would click on this. This is where you would select everything. If you were seeking out single tracks only, or you wanted to stay in a narrower trail like 50 inches or less, this is where you'd select those. We'll keep these all enabled for now, but I'll go in when we zoom in. You guys will see how the trails disappear and pop up, and it really gives you a good idea of how much single track we have, how much of the smaller stuff that we have mapped. This is also where you would enable your layers right here. So this demo is in the elite version. So the elite version is gonna be different from, if there's premium users out here, this is going to be demoed with this private land feature that I'll dive in here in a sec. Active wildfires, obviously right now, this isn't top of mind, but come summer, this is a super, super handy stuff, especially for us in Montana. So we'll leave the settings like this. This is where you would toggle snow mode. So for those of you tuning in who do have some sleds, this is going to be your spot to turn on Abbey forecast, slope angle, slope aspect. We just enable snow tell sites into here too. So if you're chasing storms or hunting out good snow conditions, the snow tell sites are a great way to do that. But we'll go into dirt mode and then zoom in here. Okay, cool. So when you come in here, you're going to be at this zoom level. You're going to come in and you're going to see all this blue stuff pop up. You're going to go, what's going on here? So these blue pins that we have pop up right now, this is to draw your attention to what we call featured trails. So the featured trails are just going to be your normal, ordinary trails, but they're packed with rich content. So if we come in here a little bit more zoom, I'm in Missoula right now, so we'll just go around this area. So you click on a featured trail like this, it's going to give you elevation profile, distance, high point, low point, difficulty rating, all that good stuff. And then the really, really powerful thing about this, about these rich trails, is they're going to be packed with photos and descriptions. And so you know what you're getting yourself into. And we do like a tech rating, keep in mind like these ratings are pretty average. And so depending on what rig you're in, just keep that in mind. But it kind of just gives you a ballpark. Like this is a rating 3. So that's a pretty fair game. Trail, you shouldn't expect anything crazy. And it'll give you all this cool stuff, nearby trails. So keep that in mind. That's also where you report a bug. Like if you were to go in, you're like, hey, there's a new gate that just popped up. What's going on? That's where you would go to report those things. So backing up to the top left here before we go any further. This is where you can search. You can search by landowner or location. So keep that in mind. It'll pull up trails, all that stuff. And something really, really cool. Again, we'll just hover around Missoula area because that's where I'm at right now. But so I'm just going to go from the left screen all the way down these, and then I'll work over the toolbar. But one of the coolest things I personally think that's built into this app is this Discover Trail feature right here. So you click on this, and this is going to pull up nearby trails based on where you are queued up in the map. So the more you scrub the map, the different trails is going to ping based on how far out you are. So this is just going to sort by distance. And so this is really cool. Like, let's say, for example, let's go back out. Let's go over to Moab because that's kind of a off-road hub, right? So if we go into Moab, and then you hit this Discover Trail card, and then this is super powerful because, like, for those of you who are traveling overstate or you're going to new places and all that stuff, like this gives you a really good idea on where you should go. If you only have a couple hours, we give you an idea of what that takes. And then obviously that's going to differ a little bit depending on the rig and stuff like that. But for the most part, you get a great idea. It's like, oh, look at this little slick rock, that's an hour loop. So really, really cool. Keep that in mind. Yeah, Discover card, play with it. It's really cool. So since we're already in Moab, we can just let's just stay here for a minute and kind of go over. I understand, like, especially like a place like Moab, it gets pretty overwhelming with, all this trail data. We have so many trails, and especially in an area like Moab, where it's just so well mapped. But when you get to this layer, and as I mentioned earlier, or this level, excuse me, when you get to this level, as I mentioned before, like it's all interactive, right? So if you come in here and you're unsure what something is, you just simply click on it. This is going to pull up, this is Arches National Park. You're going to come in here, you're going to click on this. This is all BLM. And that's super, super handy to keep in mind, right? So if you were out camping or something, depending on, I know it's state by state, but a state like Utah where you can, camp on BLM for, I don't know, I think it's something like 10 days or something like that. So really handy. Keep that in mind, all interactive. The other green trails that are not highlighted in blue, those are still going to be open trails. If you let's just click on a random one, it's going to give you the basics of it. So it'll give you the length, what you can access it by, season date, which is great, and who owns it, and that kind of stuff. It'll give you a little description, but it is not going to be as packed as a featured trail. Like if we do this 10-mile wash right here, this is going to be just packed with data. So really cool. Just keep that in mind of featured trails. And another thing, or next thing I'd like to touch on is moving on to the next feature in the left-hand side here, your offline maps. So your offline maps are arguably one of the most important things in this product. We get people coming up to us all the time. They're, hey, it's just not working. I lost service and it doesn't work. But this app, if you download your maps properly, which I'll show you here in a sec, it will work with zero service. So you go in here, let's just say, you're going to be around Moab. You might go up, I don't know, might go up Fins and Things area like most people do. You're going to go in here, you're going to click it. And then all these, I'll zoom out real quick, but all these green boxes are just personal offline maps that I have downloaded right now. So this is saying everything in this green box, you're going to have coverage with zero service. And kind of a cool trick that I like to tell people here is you'll notice like the small box is within the big box. So then when you go to here and you hit new offline map, you're going to get prompted to do a low, medium, and high resolution. Now, when you start to play with these things, you'll notice that you'll get a little bit more real estate depending on the resolution you pick. So if you go low resolution and you might not care super detailed about the satellite imagery, this is where you go select your thing in your offline map. And then you come in here, name your offline map, and you hit save. Now, a really important part here is now when you do that and you kind of queue up your box where you want to be, you need to go onto your mobile device and you will see it prompt you in your offline maps folder, which I can show you when I hop over to the phone. But just keep that in mind. You got to download it onto your phone. And so, if say you needed something up here in this north end of Moab, say you needed this all super detailed, you can go in and stitch as many offline maps as you want. Just go crazy with it. Like I almost have the whole state of Montana downloaded just because I'm always here. So download away. If you're scouting at home, just be building your offline maps. And then the last tip and trick on the offline maps is, well, do it anyway, regardless. But some people they'll keep their phones enabled, so like not airplane mode. And so if there's a weak signal and they're off-roading in an area that happens to grab like a bar or two here and there, it's going to tell your phone, hey, try to grab the signal. Don't rely on my offline map. So I'll demonstrate when I hop over to mobile, but it's essentially forcing your phone into app airplane mode. So you will occasionally get the text message and all that good stuff, but it will tell the app to, hey, rely on my green boxes I made, and there's going to be no problems. It's going to be crystal clear. So, and then if you zoom in, like this is what these offline maps are going to look like if they're properly downloaded. I mean, super, super high resolution. You can really get in here, and then you can just keep going. So make sure your offline maps are downloaded properly. If you see, some of you might notice like a checkerboard or a candy cane looking box. If any of you have that in any of your offline maps folder, I'd go over there right now if you have your phone on you, but check in your offline folder if you have any of those like candy cane looking boxes. That means it did not finish downloading properly, and you will not have this type of resolution when you get out there. So make sure they're green, you're good to go, and they're updated. Cool. Next item on the list on the left-hand side, this is going to be where all your content lives. So all your waypoints, all your lines, all your tracks, this is all going to be stored in my content. And there's a few things that are not a few, there's a lot of things you can do from here. This is where you'd come in, like say you had waypoints from another product, or you had a Garmin or something that you're pulling waypoints and pins off of. This is where you would come to import and export all of your stuff. So you can import files here, super easy. It'll just be a folder, click and drag. It's super fast. But if you guys have waypoints elsewhere and you want to import them into our product, this is where you do it. And the same thing goes for exporting. You can export them here. This is also where Folders will happen, which I'll demonstrate in a sec. And then let me I'll turn on, because I hid some waypoints, so I'll turn on some stuff here and just ignore most of these. These are just personal pins, but just to show you guys what it kind of looks like brought to life when you start going these places and marking your own pins and stuff like that. This is where you could hide it like I just had it hidden. So you can click in here and you can hide all these waypoints if you don't want to show them. If you just want a clear map to rescout something, don't want any waypoints in the mix, you can do that. I'm going to leave them on for the rest of the demo, but this is where you do that. This is also where you would send and share stuff out. So if I wanted to send some waypoints out, hey, meet at the trailhead, whatever, this is where you could send them out. And I do want to go over real quick, foldering. So this is something that is pretty new to us. And if you're a new onX user, I'd highly encourage you to really dive into these and really utilize these, because these are incredibly powerful. And then it's an unlock to making your weekend trips with group rides better. It's great. So come into here, we're gonna do add folder. We're gonna do this. We'll just do test. Actually, no, we won't do test. We'll do Moab. Weekend. Okay. Do this, save it. Okay, now we're going to see it up here, pop up in our content, and then 0 items. So I just made this folder 0 items. So you're going to click on here, and you're going to hit add content. And then this is where you come in here and then say for example, this red dash here is an old track I did on a dirt bike years ago, but say you wanted to throw this track into a group and say, hey, this is the track we're doing, ride along. This is where you do it. This is also where you pack in. So as I'm clicking, I know it's hard to see on the screen, but as I'm clicking, these things are getting added to my folder. So I can add the trailhead, the meetup spot. I mean, you guys can go as crazy as you want with this. Campsite option 1, night 1, night 2, night 3. You guys can just go as crazy as you want, and I'd highly encourage you to use this. We'll just hit done for now, and then this is, and it shows all of my content that I shoved in this folder, and then this is where you'd come and share it to your buddies or your friends and family. So share this out. It's going to give you a couple options here. It's going to give you the option to you can text it if you're on mobile. You can email this link. So it's super simple for people to open and then unpack the folder that you just made. So keep that in mind. Foldering lives in my content. Cool. And another thing here that before I dive into the toolbar, because this just reminded me, when I was selecting earlier and I pulled up arches and the BLM and all that. And then as I mentioned earlier in the call, this is an elite membership. So the elite membership is going to give you this kind of detail. So when you see premium users, you'll just see the red line here to show the private property boundary line. But elite, you can go in here and click on it, and it's going to show the property owner. It's going to show their tax address. It's going to show how big that parcel is, and that's super handy. I mean, there's plenty of use cases for it, but there's sometimes when a public road will be blocked off and you'll be like, what the heck's going on? Like, this is a public road. And then you look and it's going through some ranch, and then they're actually not supposed to block the road. So anyway, there's a lot of use cases for it, but it's pretty cool to see who owns what. And we have some awesome stories, like people finding old cars and, calling landowners that way and pulling cars out of barns that were there for years. Like, there's just a lot of cool uses for it. So keep that in mind, private property. Sweet. So moving on to the toolbar. So I'm going to do everything on the right-hand side of the screen. We'll keep in mind for this, be on the lookout for this. We're not going to dive into this right now. This is kind of a sneak peek of something we're doing right now. But if you do happen to have this in the right-hand corner of your screen, please dig into it. Something that we're very excited about. We're not going to demo it right now, but if you have it, play with it. Let us know what you think. Okay, so I'm going to hit on waypoints first. Waypoints are, super powerful, super simple, and, pretty self-explanatory. You click on it, add your waypoint, mark as many things as you want. You're going to come in here, you're going to have the ability to, this is where I'm going to air down. This is where I'm going to turn. This is the parking lot. Like, all these different waypoints in here gives you a ton of options, gives you an opportunity to change colors, all this good stuff. Another thing I would highly encourage to, I know it's hard once you're out on the trail to to dive into the waypoints that you just made, because most of the time you're in a hurry, you want to move on to the next obstacle. But I'd highly encourage you to just park for a minute and then write some notes. And this is where you would also add a photo. So add a photo, attach it to this waypoint. So you're like, oh yeah, I remember where that drop was, or that climb was, or whatever. Because once you get to the point where you have thousands of these things all over the map, like it's hard to keep up. And another thing I would recommend is, well, one, naming them. I'd name them all. But get your own system here on what you decide to do with your colors. So like get ahead of the organization, because like when you get, this is just one account I have, but you get thousands of these waypoints all over the state, and then pretty soon it looks pretty, could be overwhelming. So get your system of whatever you want, right? Like I have water stuff in blue, I have snowmobile stuff in purple, I have dirt stuff in black, so just get your own system down. It will help in the long run. And it helps you stay on top of organizing your waypoints. So that is waypoints. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this one. And same deal, like you can click into the waypoint individually. If you just want to share the one item, you can share them individually from here. If you're just in a hurry and you're like sending, hey, to your buddy, like, hey, meet me in the parking lot, you can just send that single waypoint. You don't have to go the folder route that I just demonstrated. Other than that, this is where you're going to have your draw, your line, your measure, your distance tool. We'll go in here and click in this. So this is going to be the option to, let's see here. We'll do free draw. You can come in here and free draw. And this is kind of cool. Like you can come in here and then make shapes, whatever you want. You can draw this. It's really cool, especially for those in the audience who are tuning in. Like, you might be the group that has, I don't know, 4 or 5 fifth wheels, and you're rolling in with big rigs, and you need a lot of real estate at a campground. Like that's a use case where it's pretty cool. You can come in here off this chunk of state land here, and you can zoom in and, oh, cool, look, that looks like an open spot. And you can use something like this and, draw out an area. Like, hey, how much room do I have? Right? Like, cool. That, oh yeah, sweet. 4 big rigs with fifth wheels can fit there. And obviously it's going to be a little different in the desert. It doesn't really matter because desert's kind of fair game anyway. But stuff, somewhere like where I'm at in Montana, it's like it's so thick, and you'll just get, you'll find that little open timber patch, and then that's something where that tool will come in handy and be like, oh wow, that's way bigger than I thought it was on satellite. So kind of a cool feature. Keep that in mind. This is going to be a similar thing where you're going to draw, but this is going to be a shape. And it'll be more of a shape, less of a free draw. Same thing. You can map your area, and this is kind of cool too, because like this tool has a lot of things that you wouldn't think about using it for, but it's super helpful. Like for example, I'm about to starting the process of building a shop at my house. And like, this is something that I use to map out on satellite to be like, all right, well, I can fit, this big of a shop here, and this is the fence line and distance off the fence. Like it's cool. And it works in ways that you wouldn't think it would. And then it's pretty slick. So that's how you do that. We'll discard that. And then I'm going to zoom us back out here for a sec. And then I'm going to talk map layers. So there's a lot of people out there that prefer topo or hybrid. Right now it's in hybrid. If you're a topo person, this is where you come in here on the bottom right hand of your screen. You come in here, you hit topo, boom, topo, right in here, satellite. This is where that would happen. So if you prefer that, that's really handy for like finding water. Blue really pops well on topo. So during the summer months, if you're looking for a high alpine lake or something like that, it helps it pop. Satellite, it kind of is camo. So anyway, keep that in mind. And then we're going to go into 3D in a sec, but I'm going to shoot us back to, actually, no, I'm not going to shoot us back yet. I'm going to park right here for a second. So all this squiggly lines right here, these are previous tracks. And then when I do hop over to mobile, I'll show you how to do the go and track feature on the mobile device, but this is what it shows up after you record a track on your device. So it pop up, open the web version, boom, you see your track that you just recorded. This is one I did, I don't know, I think a couple years ago, but anyways, moto down 10 mile wash. So you can click on this thing. It's going to give you the whole stat profile, elevation gain, all that stuff. And I can share this track out I can add it to a folder. I can come in and edit. I can delete it. And this is where you trim a track too. Keep in mind, this feature, the trim track feature, is only going to be available if you actually made the track on your device. If you get a track shared to you, we disable that feature because someone could have something and you go cut up someone else's track and it's not your stuff. So anyway, this is where you come in, you trim track. We'll click on it here because a lot of times, like, I'll get in the truck and load up the bike, and then you're driving down the highway and your tracker's still on. You're like, oh shoot. So this is where you would come in, you'd slide it, cut off that highway time or whatever. So that's where you do that, trim the track up. Yeah, that is track. So keep that in mind when you track on your phone. This is how it will look on your web version. So we'll bounce back up to Missoula really quick. This bottom right hand, the very, very far bottom right hand corner, this is going to be your orient button. It's going to look like little crosshairs. So you're going to click on this. It'll load for a second, and then boom, it's going to ping right where I'm at in the Missoula office. And then back into the map layer really quick. I want to hit on 3D really quick. So I'm going to open this. I already have it teed up because it takes a minute to load. But anyway, this is what it's going to look like with 3D. As you can see, the mountain behind me, it's showing this in 3D pretty dang well. This is where you come in here, and then you're going to see your little slider down here. This is going to be your 3D elevation exaggeration. And so I like to keep it right around here because that's probably pretty realistic. At about that, it gives you a little more height. And it's going to be super handy for those who are on the East Coast or not as many hills. You can, coulees or something like that. You can really pull up coulees, bring them to life, or drainages or whatever if it's super flat. But this is where you'd pull up that 3D. To work this, I'm on a Mac. I'm pretty sure it's the same on a PC, but I'm clicking and dragging, and you can just kind of scrub it, right? I'm hitting Control, and this is how you tilt. Control and then tilt. You can come around the mountain. Super, super powerful. It gives you a great perspective. And, going back to the point of, if you have a big rig or a trailer, you're something, towing up a trailer, like this just gives you great perspective of what you should be, more realistically going to encounter when you're out there. As you can tell, all the map layers are still on. You can still view, like, this is all national forest right here. It's private property still shows up. So all this is going to show up in 3D, which is really, really cool. So that is 3D. We're going to hop back over to 2D. And then give me a sec here, and I'm going to swap over to mobile.
And then real quick, everyone, if you have product questions, you can drop in that Q&A section. We have a few people from our CX team typing away furiously, getting questions answered. So they're keeping an eye out in the Q&A tab. So if you're asking questions in the chat, might not get seen there.
Cool. Thanks, Hunter. All right, sweet. So pulling up mobile. How's that look, Hunter?
Looking good.
Okay, cool. So, and I know it's hard to follow along on this because I don't have like the highlighter that I was just showing on the desktop. So it'll be hard for you guys to see where I'm tapping, but you'll get the point. So same thing, same thing applies with all the features on the bottom hand corner. Pull up this is where you would filter. So same thing I demoed on WebMap is just going to look a little different here. One thing that is new or not new, it's going to be different than your web version is that track that I just trimmed for you guys. This is how you'd make that happen. So on the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see a function called go and track. So we go ahead and hit this. It's going to give us into this tilt mode, and it's going to kind of be like your little puck indicator, right? So if I were to walk around, this would track, and I know it's hard for you guys to see right now, but I'm pointing my phone. So if I point up towards, the hills behind us, it's going to orient that direction. So you'd hit this, you'd record the track. Now we're ticking right now. So you see our times elapsed right now, and it's going. This is where you would, if you want a little more real estate on the top of your phone, this gives it into that tilt mode, which is really cool. I encourage everyone to track. Like it's really, really powerful. And then, especially for I mean, for me, when I'm on a dirt bike, especially if I have a tracker going, if I'm pretty hard on the gas that day and I'm coming up one way on, 25 to 30 mile range, and it's like, whoa, I better turn around. So anyway, that's really cool. Pause it, end it, and you got to go in, name it, and save it. So there's a few steps there you got to do, but make sure you do that. Other than that, that same bottom right-hand corner crosshair that I just pulled us back up to Missoula, hit that again. And if you guys have your phone in your hand right now, double tap it, and you're going to see headlights appear. Just think of them as headlights. So this is going to be your directional indicator. So not a lot of people know that the app does this, and this is really powerful. I mean, especially if you're out somewhere like the desert where train association might be harder, or a storm rolls in or something like that, where you have a waypoint marked at your truck and you're like, oh shoot, like it's getting dark, I don't know where I'm at. Like this is where you would hit your indicator. And you can point to your waypoint, and then that's going to give you your direction wherever you're turning this thing. So if you want to get it out of that view, hit it again, and it's going to give you that north-south orientation again. Another thing here that's cool, again, if you have your phone in your hand, try this, is you're going to grab your two fingers and you're going to slide it up. You slide it up, and it's going to give you that tilt approach. And I'm also right here, I'm twisting. I know you guys can't see what my thumbs are doing on the screen, but if you twist the screen, it'll be a pinch to rotate. And if you don't have that and you're like, what the heck, it's not showing up, go into your settings. And that's a setting you'll see, pinch, enable, rotate. So I like to have that. It get easier scouting, all that. So you can really come in here, twist things around. But anyway, to get back out of it, again, go your north-south orientation. So with that, Hunter, I'm going to hand it back over to you, and then we'll get some Q&As, some questions, answers rolling. And I know that was a lot to unpack, and I had to go fast. It's only an hour session we have here, but feel free, fire away in the Q&A, and we'll get as many answers as we can.
All right, let's get that pulled up here. All right. Get those questions pulled up. All right. Okay, so first one here is asking, how can you see private landowner info on the map? So the private land data that comes with the elite memberships. And so you have that level, that's our top tier membership. If you have that and you zoom in, you'll start seeing all those property lines come in and have those names listed. Then if you tap on a piece of that land, it'll pull up a tax address that's associated with that private land. So that's how you pull that up there. And then Jake, if I can get you to queue up a WebMap, we can kind of walk through a couple of these and knock out a few in a row here.
Cool. Yeah, I'll pull it up. All right, how's that looking?
Looking good.
Cool.
Okay. So what are your recommendations of planning or scouting out dispersed land camping sites?
Cool. Yeah, so this is gonna depend. This is gonna be a state by state thing. Earlier when I was talking about Utah and their BLM land law, I mean, I think it's a 10-day deal in Utah. But then there's other agencies, right? So there's some national forests here, there's state land trusts. So you just got to do your research ahead of time. Some of the park stuff, it's like, can you camp in all the parks and like some of those deals. But for me, if I'm looking for dispersed camping, like I always go towards BLM. It's just, you seem to get away from people fast in BLM, and it's really cool. And not a lot of people even know, like that's a foreign concept to a lot of people, like, oh, I can just go camp on state land, so keep that in mind. Like if I were to come to, let's say, Green River in this example, like I'd come here. This is a trip that I did a couple years ago, but my buddies and I were on this thing scouting ahead of time. It's like, hey, I dropped my waypoint to get off the interstate here, head down this open road, come over here, and then you can really get in. And this is when that high resolution satellite imagery is just really going to come into play. This right here is going to be single track. So like, I know I'm going to be having the dirt bikes in the bed. So like, I want to park somewhere close where at least there's a single track trailhead. So I'm going to come down this road and then, I don't know, maybe see something like this, maybe see like a little 2-track kicker road right here. Come in here and look, oh, satellite caught some trailers right here, right? So like, that's probably a really good flat spot. And then, you're legal the whole time when you're here because you're on that public land. So knowing that public land, where those boundary lines are, is just key. So that's what I would do to find dispersed camping. And then you come in here and you can get even more carried away. I can turn back on, get some topo lines in there and then see some benches, see some flat spots. Like, you can get really carried away here. You can come in here, use that line tool again, as I recommended, kind of map out the size, and then drop a waypoint there. And then if you have some friends meeting you over the weekend, but hey, this is where I'm camping, come out and ride. So that's how I go about it. And then this applies, everywhere where there's public land. You just got to know, states differ on their camping day limit, but it's pretty fair game for BLM. So that's what I do.
Awesome. And while you're still in there, have a question. How do you see if a trail is open or closed?
Cool. So everything right here is open. It is green. As I mentioned earlier with the blue overlay, that's going to be like our featured trails. So all of these are open. It's just the blue layer has the additional rich content. So it's going to come in here, give you the photos, all that good stuff. Right now, like this area in particular in Green River is pretty fair game right now. A lot of trails are open, but let's bounce back. I'll show you an example of that. We bounced back to Missoula, and now all of a sudden you see all of our trails are closed because we obviously deal with snowpack or snow in general and all that stuff. So, these trails are gated pretty low. Like you can see here that goes green until the gate, and that's where the gate's going to be. So a closed trail is going to populate in red. It still will have it could still be a closed trail and still have that rich content. And you'll click on it and you'll see it has a seasonal closure. So that's how you would go about that.
Awesome. And have a question here asking if the waypoints that you make on the WebMap, will those automatically show up on your device and vice versa?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The only thing that you'll have to do the additional step is what I mentioned with the offline map. So if just pretend Missoula doesn't have any service, I'd come in here, I would create an offline map. You can go like this, drag it. I would do this, boom, I would hit save, and then my green box would start to queue up. I would go back over to my phone, and then you go into your offline maps on your phone, and then you'll see this box that you just made, and it'll give you the option to download on your phone.
Perfect. All right, I'll answer one here. Asking where we're getting our featured trail data from. That is actually from our trail guide program. So all these blue trails, they're featured trails. All those photos and descriptions come from someone who has actually traveled down that trail personally. It's a program. I think we have around 400 trail guides. And so that's a network of trail users. So they'll actually scout these trails. They write a description, take photos, and then rank it with our difficulty rating. So all these feature trails are from an actual human who's taken their rig and see where that trail actually goes. And I'm seeing a question here asking about doing an offline map inside of an offline map. If we could get a quick demo of that again.
Yeah, totally. So let's go to an area. Let's just go back to the desert because I know I have a lot of offline maps saved there. Let's scroll down. Okay, cool. So I'll hold this at this level here for a sec. So hit offline maps here. And then you're going to see these are previous boxes or offline maps that I have downloaded. You know, some of them I might have downloaded 2 years ago, a month ago, like they're all over the place on where I downloaded them. Which also is the important thing to keep these updated. So if you come in here and you end up having a bunch of offline maps, this is where you come in and update them. But to answer the question of the boxes within the boxes, so it goes back to that low, medium, and high resolution. So you'll have coverage anywhere in this ginormous box, and chances are you probably won't go outside of this box. I mean, especially if it's like a little weekend wheel trip, like that's a pretty big range to cover. But what I would recommend, like your home state, I mean, download the whole state, like make a big bunch of big boxes around the whole state. And then where you know you're going to be, that's when you go in and you put the boxes within the boxes. So you're going to come in here, and then you know you're going to be in Moab specifically hitting these trails. And you know, let's say, hey, we're going to be in the south of Moab right here. This is where you would go in and do your high resolution boxes.
Awesome. All right. Gonna have you jump over to mobile, and we'll do a couple there. And I'll answer a quick one while you pull that up. So I have a question here asking the difference between the membership levels. So the basic account, that is free. You're going to be pretty heavily limited on the features you have access to. And then there is our premium, which is $30 for the year. And that has that opens you up to a lot more, opens you up to offline maps and trail data. And then the elite, that is where you get that private land data, unlimited offline maps, all that good stuff there. But there is a free option that does get you some usage. And then Jake having a question. It's kind of a two-parter. One, how can you add a photo to a waypoint? And then there's another one asking how to share that waypoint.
Cool. So first step, photo, there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can set a waypoint fast and then take a picture and then return later to that waypoint and then add the photo in after. So like if you're in a hurry and you just want to drop a waypoint and then you get home and you're like, oh shoot, like, you know, where was that? Oh yeah, this is the picture that I took and associated with that waypoint. So you can do it that way. Go into your tools right here, and then you're going to see add a photo. And it's going to say, take a photo or select from your library. So this is where if you're like standing there, and you're dropping your waypoint, you can take a picture of what you're looking at. If it's a cool vantage point or something like that, to give you a better reference. So that's where you do that. The other way to do it, say you already set, so I already set a waypoint on the office here. You click on this, you're going to scroll over to edit. And then you're going to pull up, and then here's your photo. So it'll say add photo right there. And then you can come in here and you can change up the color again. You can rename it. Again, if you were just marking it fast, that's where you do it. Another way to do it is that I forgot to mention earlier. You can hit mark your location, bottom right hand. So location is marked, and I just made a second waypoint there by hitting mark your location. So that's a super fast way to drop a waypoint. But yeah, that's how you'd add them.
I have another one here. If there is a trail that is named wrong, or if there is some error, is there a way to notify onX to kind of put a flag up?
Yes, there is. So that closed trail that I just went to, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to click on the green right here. You come over here and you would see down here. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit that. You'll see down there, scroll over, see I'm sliding on the bottom bar right here. You'll see report an error. So we come in here and it's like, oh, whoa, the gate was way low or something like that. That's where you go. So click on it, pull it up, slide it over, report an error.
Perfect. All right, and I'll take one here. How to keep a history of trails traveled with notes and pictures. The best way that I found to do that is really from the beginning when you're scoping stuff out, making waypoints, is organization. So starting out, creating a folder. I always like putting the location and the date. If it's a multi-day trip, I'll put day 1, day 2, etc. So really starting out early with it organized, because the more you use this, the more data you're going to be inputting. It can very quickly just turn into just a whole list of just waypoints with a random date. And if you have a buddy asking for like a campsite recommendation, when you have it all organized and labeled, be like, oh, I found this awesome campsite on this trail I did back in February. You can scroll to it, find it, and share it real easy. So organizing and labeling is the best way to be able to kind of go back through and find stuff. And here's one for you, Jake. Where does your trail information come from? So not the blue lines, but the green.
Yeah, so it comes from a variety of ways. Mostly it's going to be county data. But again, they come from all different sources. And that's what's so great about our trail guide program, because they're not only, humans going out there and mapping it, but, some of this stuff, it's like if the county doesn't update it, it's not updated. And so we'll hear all the time, or not all the time, sometimes, if someone just moved to a different property or something, then they're expecting their name to change on their property, because that's what most people do when they get elite. They scroll their own property and look at the landowner name. And if it's not them and they just moved in, then they're like, hey, what's going on? I don't see my name. That's just going to depend on when the county submits that stuff, and then we'll get it refreshed in the app as soon as we can. But that's all over. I mean, that's happening all over the US and different. How many people move a day across the US. So a lot of data is getting updated every single day.
I have a question. Can I import and export a GPX file from another platform? Yes, you definitely can. So if you have that GPX or KML file, you can import that, and that'll show up in that My Content feature.
Yep, so that's going to be here, and then boom, import right there.
Perfect. Have one here. How are trail difficulty ratings determined? I think if I can pull up that legend, I think that would be a good thing to run through.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, with the trail guides, there are criteria that they are kind of checking and comparing off of. So what different difficulties are coming from, what you can expect. Oh, that I'm sorry, Jake, I don't think that's in the legend. I think that's in the featured trail.
Oh, right. Okay, dive in. So we'll dive into trail. Yeah, so you'll see this this slider scale that comes up right here. And again, this is going to be obviously very vehicle dependent. A 5 and a stock rig is going to look very different than a built one, of course. But this at least gives you a rough ballpark. Chances are, if it's way up here to 10, it's probably going to be pretty burly, and a 1, probably anything could take it. So it's just to give you a rough gauge, because everyone's going to have their different skill levels and stuff like that we just can't factor in. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Common sense is obviously one of the best tools you can take with you. But when something is rated 10, that is getting into that built rock crawly rear steer buggy territory. And 1 is your graded fire road that you can pretty safely go down with anything with decent clearance. But that's all loaded in there for you to be able to reference. See another one come up here is, I know you covered it, but how do I use or see 3D?
Sweet. So have your web version up right here, and we'll just zoom in right here. On the bottom right hand corner right here, when you toggle between your different map view, that's where it's going to prompt you for your 3D options. So you just hit this, it's going to give you that tilt view. Then as I mentioned earlier, this exaggeration tool, I would pull it up to right about there, and then you can really see, it gives a great perspective on how these canyon walls are and stuff like that. So it gives you a really good idea. And remember, it's control, and you're going around this. So I'm going up, down right here, and you can come over here and then Moab Rim right here. So I'm sure for those of you who've been to Moab, you've probably heard of this. So it just gives you a really good idea of what you're getting into, when it levels out, when you can turn around, like those kind of things. So that's how you do it. Get out of it, go back in here, 2D.
Perfect. Then have a question here on the discovering trails. If you could touch base on having it pull up what's local to you, and then also when you're researching a new location.
Cool. So discover feature, again, it's going to ping off of where you are teed up in the map. So like if I'm queued up right here and I'll just stay right here, you hit this discover feature, this is going to pull up those close nearby trails. And so when you move this around, you're scouting and you're, oh, look, here's a bunch of single tracker or whatever, like go over here, go over to this side of Moab, like, you know, there's plenty of use cases where it's like, oh shoot, like north side of town was slammed today. Like I'm gonna go south and try something. So anyway, queue up the map wherever you're scrubbing, and it'll pull something up. So like, you know, poison spider here, and then you hover it and it's gonna illuminate. So it'll give you a good idea where it's at. You click on it and it's gonna automatically pull that pin up on that trail. So poison spider pulled up, and then there you go. Now based on where you're local, hit that bottom right indicator button. It's going to ping to your location again, because it's really easy to be, you know, scouting and scrubbing the map. And then you're like, oh, whoa, where am I? Just remember to hit that to get you back. So same thing here. You hit this discover card and now it's pulling trails right near me. That's how you do it.
Awesome. Have come down the last few minutes here. I think the last thing cool to touch on is our friends on the kind of eastern half of the country that aren't as fortunate to have tons and tons of public land. So you just kind of show what the private parks, some of the private parks that we have.
Yeah, cool. Good call. Because I did notice a lot of people were tuning in from that side of the country. So that's really cool. But again, I mean, it comes down to, like Hunter just mentioned, it's like, you know, it's just the public land on this side of the country. It's obviously a lot more. So there's going to be a lot more going on. And, you know, sometimes we'll hear, you know, oh, like there's, you know, so-and-so trails aren't mapped. And it's like, you know, a lot of these trails, if they're not recorded through the county or wherever, or someone's not recording them, like those might not actually be legal trails and we're not going to show them. So anyway, same thing here with the blue. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the call, it's to pull your eyes into dense areas. So like, you know, you're in around Little Rock, right? You come in here and you go, oh, cool, look at all these pins pulling me in. And whoa, actually there's quite a few trails there. So again, keep that in mind. And then, you know, this is Ultimate Adventure that we did a couple years ago. So really cool. But if you come into here, I think this is a private park I have mapped. No, it's not. Let me back out. I'll pull up one that we went to on Ultimate Adventure. Okay, cool. So my blue track that we went through here, we obviously spent the whole day here. And then this is what it's going to look like. You're going to pull it up. Private park's going to show. This was Crossbar. This was one of my favorite private parks. I'm not used to the private park scene because I live out here, so it was cool to get that experience. But this is, you know, just for those tuning in on that side of the country, just know that private parks are very much on our radar. And then, you know, if you're someone who's hitting them every weekend, like please submit those trails. Like we'll be more than happy to get those in the app, and we're constantly checking off different private parks. So but yeah, this is kind of what they look like and show up. So another thing too, like this is where the private property boundary lines really come in, right? Like this might all look the same here, and then oh shoot, like I'm cutting through private property or something like that, or something got marked, or the park line or edge or fence is down or something like that, just to keep everyone legal. So that's what the private park scene looks like.
Awesome. And then Jake, I will grab a screen share back from you here.
Cool.
So for those of you who have stuck it out to the end of the class here, we are doing a giveaway. We are giving away 25 of our onX Offroad beanies. No purchase is necessary, but you do have to have an onX Offroad account, which I'm guessing most of you guys do. And the basic account does count. That's the free version. So there's the link. We're going to drop that in the chat as well. So there's pretty good odds of winning one. So if we can get in there. This has been recorded. This is going to be on our YouTube channel tomorrow, probably around noon. So if there's anything you want to be able to run back or go over again, that's a great spot to do it. If any of your questions did not get answered, you can send an email to help@onxmaps.com. Our CX team, I think, answered over 150. So those of you who didn't get a chance to get their question answered or have some account questions or anything like that, help@onxmaps will be the way to go. And that's all we have here. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to learn more. The app is something that we're really passionate about. We love when people take the time to let us talk to you about it. So really appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.